All right, YouTube, a lot of people consider Tayyip Erdogan over in Turkey, the prime minister there, to be sort of an Islamist. I don't get that feeling from him. I think that he's more like an opportunist, like, George W. Bush used to praise Jesus a lot. He did this for votes, and he did this so people would call others unpatriotic if they didn't support what he wanted to do. Well, you don't like Jesus if you don't like what Bush is doing, essentially. Tayyip reminds me of just this sort of neocon politician, only Turkish style. That is, he's not really a nationalist, unless it means like praising him as Lord Emperor of all mankind. He's not really a religious Islamist, but now he's trying to chase after the religiously Islamic vote or something, I guess, because he's saying, oh, well, contraception has no place in Islamic families. People shouldn't use contraception. He wants a population boom, essentially. I think he wants more manpower, because I think he's crazy enough. I think he seriously thinks he can stand up to the Russians without outside help. I think he's emboldened by the fact that Turkey is a partner with NATO. I would point this out, though. While Turkey has a large and rather sophisticated military, they have had continuous problems both within and without their own borders, with Kurds, with ISIS now, increasingly. They say, oh, the Russians claim that the Turks support ISIS. They're not. They're sort of like the United States. They're making the stupid move of supporting so-called moderate rebels, and a lot of those moderate rebels just happen to be partnered with ISIS. I think that the Pentagon's just doesn't even give a fuck at this point. And they say, well, as long as some of the weapons get into the moderates' hands, they're primarily focused on Assad. That's okay if ISIS gets some weapons or anti-tank missiles or something. It's okay because it's an acceptable casualty. That's sort of how they look at things. I think Turkey looks at it in a similar manner. Now, here's a country where under the reforms of Ataturk, was quickly developing, westernizing, sort of forsook the Eastern world in favor of capitalism, in favor of industry, in favor of trying to have a better life for its people. Erdogan has managed to piss most of that away. I don't understand why he was reelected other than I think people voted tactically or there was election fraud. There's been continuous problems. Erdogan is a severe police statist. That is, he's cracked down on Facebook, he's cracked down on YouTube, he's cracked down on Twitter. He's had people go after certain German politicians who have talked badly about Turkey and its human rights record. And now he's doing this. He's earning the ire of like women's rights groups. But remember, this is a majority Islamic nation. It may be more liberal than like Egypt or Saudi Arabia or something, but there's still that simmering Islam there, even if it's in a different, more cultural form. And this is the same country that Erdogan or Erdogan or Tayyip, whatever you want to call him, Recep, that dude with the squeaky voice. This is the same country under his leadership that wants into the EU. It wants to exchange, we'll take care of all the fucking refugees here, but we want visa-free border access. Trying to hold Europe over a barrel while being sort of the gatekeeper to Europe for millions of refugees, which in turn were spawned largely by the United States and Europe. So I don't really blame him as much for that. But he's also the dude, he puts up like holographic projections of himself during speeches because he finds that cool. He's got a lot of the Christians concerned. They think he's like the Antichrist. They think he's like the Beast 666. I don't think that. I think he's just a really weird politician who isn't seemingly taken seriously by some of his population, but is seen as a lesser evil than like Kurdish communists or ISIS or a group like that. And you see the constant attacks happening in Turkey. They're no longer just hitting like these border regions. They've hit Ankara several times. They've hit Izmir, Bolu, all these other places around Turkey. You have these bombings and shootings and so forth. They had a case, I think last year, where some fucking commies there got a hold of some city representative, and they were holding him hostage, and they were like taking photographs of this. And then Erdogan had a big to-do about taking down the pictures on social media because I guess he felt they were embarrassing and it made him look weak. Well, he is weak. There's the problem. He's also a little bit crazy. He's weak, but he thinks that he's stronger than he really is. And he's playing off sort of nationalist sentiment, I guess, in Turkey to try to smash the enemies of the Turks. But what is Turkey, a non-nuclear state, going to be able to do about Russians? Ultimately, the best they can hope for is get into the EU, which is crumbling apart as we speak anyway, or hold on tight to the West through NATO or something, and sort of neutralize the Russian threat to their maritime borders. As far as ISIS goes, they're not going to get any help there because Uncle Sam keeps giving weapons inadvertently to ISIS by keeping on funding the so-called moderates that are really just nationalist Sharia law supporters in Syria and Iraq, under the auspices of their, oh, well, we're going to give them lethal aid, even though a couple years back I said there'd be no lethal aid for these militant groups because they kind of scare me. And this is Obama's new strategy. And Obama's a big friend of Erdogan. Erdogan's also a big friend of certain other people in the region that are more Islamic than he is. I think he does it for votes, but it's a dangerous precedent to set when you start attacking the trappings of liberality that have actually taken root in your country, the trappings that actually make it liberal, that make it a place that's worth living in. Not liberal in the sense of like American liberals, but liberal is in the sense of not being an Islamic theocracy. Taking those trappings and denigrating them, making it more like a Saudi Arabia or an Iran or something like that. I would think that the people there that benefit from westernization wouldn't want that. Turkey's got a way better quality of life than many of these other regional states. It's a better quality of life than many Southeast Europeans in countries. They're not even Islamic countries. So why would they want to piss that all away so that Erdogan can inflate his ego? I don't quite understand it. I hope that the ire is greater than what I'm seeing because I think it's a terrible idea. I mean, it's a little bit like the Evangelocons here. They do it for votes, but it has real-world ramifications. That's about all. Peace out.